Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, starring the wonderful, 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 wonderful Kyle Mulford and me, Noah Saturn. How are you doing, Kyle?
Considering all things considered, I'm doing all right.
Okay, so this is just going to be a special episode where we do what you watching because pandemic.
Yes, we're stuck at home and we're just testing out different ways to record from quarantine. Neither one of us are sick, thankfully.
And we normally record in the same room, but this is different.
So if the audio quality is not the up to par here, we're still just in the testing phase.
Or maybe if it's better, we might stick with it.
That's true. So you never know. But we thought we'd test this out on the first episode of What You Watchin'. We thought maybe we'll separate this from the beginning of our normal podcast and have two maybe shorter shows going forward instead of one
Just,
longer show.
just to give you something to listen to.
Yeah. So anyway, our first episode, and here's the deal, is that we didn't record. We record every 2 weeks, and we didn't record 2 weeks ago because I was out of town. And now we're recording, and I've got 4 weeks of movie watching in, and one of those weeks was in quarantine, quote unquote quarantine. I'm calling it that, but you know what I mean. So I've watched a lot of movies over the last 4 weeks. So I've watched a lot of good stuff. So we got a lot to talk about here.
I've watched a fair amount, so let's just get going and let's just have you go first since you're probably going to have more stuff to say.
Okay. Hopefully you've seen some of the ones that I'm going to talk about here.
Hopefully.
Well, I'll just go in the order that I watched these. Why not? We'll start off with The Seventh Seal.
Yes, that's a good one.
This was my first time watching this movie, and I really dug it. I thought there was a lot of interesting thoughts on mortality and all that stuff, and God and death, and a man, Max von Sydow, playing chess with death. And
Yeah, it's interesting because even if you've never seen that movie, never heard of it, you've seen that image.
as William Sadler playing death, playing Battleship.
Exactly.
Yes, this is. I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first because I had to watch it in two parts because I got interrupted. But by the end, it all came like it. It all felt really complete to me, and I really enjoyed this film. I don't have much else to say about the movie. It was gorgeous to look at, and I liked Max von Sydow in the role.
Yeah, he was great.
As this crusader coming back home, and the town is like just what is it? I think the plague is coming through, and all of this stuff. So he's questioning his faith, and yeah, it's a lot of interesting thoughts in there. So
You could really tell this is a guy who's seen some stuff.
yes, yeah, for sure. So speaking of death, the next movie I watched was The Dead Don't Die.
Oh
And
yeah.
what what do you get if you put Bill Murray, Danny Glover, Steve Buscemi, Chloe Sevigny, Adam Driver, Tilda Swinton in a movie? If you give it to Jim Jarmusch, you get a pile of crap.
Yeah, I saw this one before you did, and it's like, eh.
I I don't see the appeal of Jarmusch in general because I tried watching Only Lovers Left Alive, and it was two mopey vampires for an hour and a half, and just I couldn't handle it. And The Dead Don't Die is a lot of just everything is delivered deadpan, and when you have every character in a movie being deadpan, but you have them not playing off of anybody else because everyone else is being deadpan about the humor, then the deadpan doesn't work anymore. It just makes it really slow and dull and just uninteresting.
Yeah, it just kind of lays there.
And then there's a part with a UFO that didn't have to be in the movie. Like it didn't make any sense. There was no reason for it. I'm done talking about this movie. If you're a Jarmusch fan, I'm sure you'll dig it, but he's just not my cup of tea.
That's the only Jarmusch movie I've ever seen, so I'll probably give some of his other things a shot. But yeah, I don't really have anything to compare it to as far as his other stuff.
So anyway, I also watched one of the, I think it was a movie that was up for Best Foreign Picture, Cold War. I don't remember if it was last year or this year that it was up. And this was set in Poland during the during the Cold War. During the Hot War. It's called Cold War, but it's set during the Hot War.
Oh, the hot date war. That was the
um,
best thoughts.
and this is a guy like leading like a musical troupe, and they're getting a bunch of peasants to come in with, and at the beginning it almost seemed like peasant American Idol, but
I'd watch that.
because they're giving like auditions to all these people that they just pulled in off the street, and
This
one
man has leprosy, but he's got an amazing voice.
he may be dead next week, but hey, we'll enjoy it while it lasts. I I shouldn't make fun of Poland during the Cold War, but but actually, this was first of all, this was shot in black and white, kind of like The Seventh Seal, another black and white movie, and it was gorgeous. And the story was really great. It One of the guys running this this music thing, and then they pull in a girl who's actually like pretending to be kind of a peasant, kind of, struggling, because she's actually running away from the
Is she
authorities because she
a
had
princess?
no, because she beat up her husband or something like that, or
Oh,
no, she beat up her father. So she's on the lam, but then they fall in love, and then they go to I want to say it's France to perform, and they're going to escape because this is set during like by this time it's in like the early 50s, and the Soviet Union or Russia, what was it called at the time? I don't know. They change their name so often. They're like trying to insert pro communist messages into the music that they're doing. They're like putting their foot into this too. And so they don't like it. Well, then he actually leaves the country, and then she gets cold feet and stays behind. But it's like one of those doomed relationship movies.
oh, okay.
But it's really well told, really well acted, and just beautifully shot in black and white. And so I would really recommend this one. I watched the 1961 Parent Trap because
Nice.
we we like to have a pizza movie night with our daughters every once in a while and show them old movies. So we threw this one on Disney Plus, and the Haley Mills version. And
With the double feature with Seven Seal.
yes, no, the one thing about the Parent Trap that gets me is we're going. So the parents decide to get divorced when the girls are really young and they won't remember. So they're like, "Hey, they're identical. We each get one. If we don't tell them about each other, it's all good, right?" I, who does that?
I don't know. Just an excuse for a movie.
But if you get past that fact, it's a fun movie, and Haley Mills does a good job of playing two people in it, so it's a fun movie for the whole family.
Yeah, I've
I
seen the Lindsay Lohan version.
I have not seen. To be honest, I watched this, and I don't think I've seen either version before. So this was actually new to me as well as the girls. My wife said that she watched it a lot as a kid because they had the VHS. So I watched Shaft. It's your guess which one that is, because there's three movies with the same title. It was actually the 2019 version.
Okay.
It was fun. It was one of those movies where it was like old school versus new school, and
That's
like
an idea.
old crotchety Samuel L. Jackson getting on his son about like doing all this mamby-pamby stuff while he's all this tough macho guy who is a misogynist and beats people up. So,
Lovely.
but it's a really fun dichotomy movie of that. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I've only seen the original Shaft from 1971 with Richard Roundtree, and which is just awesome because that's very 70s in the best sort of way.
Oh yeah, and of course Richard Roundtree reprises his role in this one as well as the one that came out in the early 2000s with
Nice.
Samuel L. Jackson. So this is like the third generation now. So yeah, it's a fun movie. If you like the Shaft series and you like Samuel L. Jackson, it's good. I was listening to a podcast and they were going over like their favorite movies of the past decade, and one of them mentioned a movie called Heavy Trip, and it's
I
about
have
it. It is this bizarre movie about these heavy metal this heavy metal band in a small town in I think it's in Sweden, and they're trying to go to a heavy metal concert in Denmark or something like that. The Scandinavian countries. I can't remember which one it's actually set in, but there's this heavy metal band in this small town, and one of them, like, they practice at one of their, like, reindeer slaughtering shops or whatever, and it's funny. If you have not heard of this, like, just go into it fresh, and it is the really heavy metal, like the like you can't understand what they're saying, and I
Yeah.
hate that. I will say to you, I hate that kind of music, but I loved this movie, and even the final song is total heavy metal, but it earns it so well that you just sit there, go, like, banging your head, go, "This is fantastic!" So, and just the adventure they're on to get to the heavy metal concert itself it's fun. I highly recommend this movie.
So is it something like this is Spinal Tap?
Everyone I talk to about it, like, has asked me that, and this is Spinal Tap is more of a mockumentary. This is actually just a legit story of these guys who have a band, but
Okay.
it is kind of that absurd humor in there. So, I mean, they get saved by Vikings at the end, and they dig up a body at one point, and it's very absurd. So,
Nice.
I watched Hustlers because I heard great things about it and how J Lo was so wonderful in this movie. It felt kind of to me like Wolf of Wall Street, which everyone loved that as well. But both of these movies are about bad people, and we're supposed to be rooting for them. Because, yes, are they stealing money from people who probably deserve it? Yes. However, you get into the movie and they're drugging these people and stealing everything that they have. I'm going, regardless of whether they deserve it or not, you're drugging them and doing this stuff against their will, and taking their money and stealing their PIN numbers and passwords. And I'm going, you are straight up criminals. Like, why are we rooting for you?
Yeah, I guess some of it is that kind of doing the wrong thing for the right reasons because, these are just kind of rich jerks who steal people's money every day.
Yeah. Because, like I said, do some of these people that they steal from deserve it? Yes, because they're the Wall Street assholes who steal all our money every day. But it's also like, so because you don't like criminals, you become a criminal? Like, and I'm supposed to root for you? I don't. If this were a fake story, it'd be fun to watch because, it's, oh, these girls are getting their, getting after these guys that have been, like, stealing other people's money through Wall Street, not stealing, but what I mean. Just
It's stealing.
Wall Street assholes. And if it were a fake story, but, like, that's where watching a movie when I know it's a true story, I'm going, but you're drugging people until they don't know what they're doing. This is wrong.
Yeah, I could see that. I haven't seen it, but I'm interested. Seems like fun.
Other than that, like, major thing, it was interesting. I don't know what the high praise for it is, because also one thing about it is that it's every 2 seconds. It's another, they insert another song that you would hear in a strip club and then do a montage. And it was just filled with montages, way too many montages with stripper music. And it just
You're against stripper music.
I have nothing against stripper music or strippers. It, but it just kept disrupting it. It's like the flow was really, okay, we're going to talk for a minute and then go into montage. And then we're going to talk to a minute and go into montage. It was just over lather, rinse, repeat, So
Yeah.
it's a good movie. It's just, I don't feel like it's as great as people are saying it was.
You just felt like it had some pacing issues for you, at least.
Yeah. I think that's about it. Because all of the acting was actually fine, and J Lo actually was pretty good in it. I'll give her that. So, another interesting movie I watched was a 1978 movie called The Silent Partner, and this one had Elliot Gould, and he's a bank teller in a mall bank, and there's a guy that's going to rob them, played by Christopher Plummer.
Nice. I like Christopher Plummer.
And he plays like this sleazy bad guy, and it's great. And he's going to
Great.
rob the bank, and Elliot Gould figures this out, and so he ends up stealing the money himself, and then lies and says that the bad guy got away with all the money. Well, then the guy's like, well, he figures out where he lives because he knows who he is. So then it's like kind of this cat and mouse game between those two. It's
Those are
really
always
interesting.
fun, especially when big actors like that.
Yeah, and then you get a small cameo by John Candy, who it looks like this is his beginning roles where it's just like, I'm going to take this random background bank clerk who gets like 5 lines.
And then make it memorable because I'm John Candy.
Exactly. So I would recommend it. I think I saw it. I want to say I saw it on Canopy. So it is out there streaming.
Okay. And just as a reminder, Canopy is a free service you can use through your local library.
Yeah. So if you can't get to your library because it's closed, you can still rent movies through your library through Canopy. So, those services are still out there.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend Canopy, especially a lot of larger libraries use it. So it's definitely a good way to do it. And of course, it's free. They let you watch like 4 or 5 movies a month and then give you like 5 more every month or something.
Yeah. I watched Ad Astra, the Brad Pitt in space movie. And you know what? I thought he was really good in this. And he got nominated for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which we'll talk about that as well, because I watched that as well. And in that movie, he kind of just stands there most of the time.
It looks cool.
And looks cool. I'm going, Brad Pitt just stands there and looks cool like all the time. Like that's not really acting for him. So I thought that his acting performance in Ad Astra was actually better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a very slow movie. It's about him coming to terms with his father abandoning him as a kid, and he kind of follows the path of his father, and then he goes out into space to find his dad. And so it's a very slow moving movie, but I really dug it.
So it's like daddy issues in space.
Yes. Dad, I'm coming for I think you're still alive, Dad. I'm going to get you. So I might as well talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood also. Have you seen that?
I have not. I've seen a fair amount of like Tarantino stuff. It's just, I guess I've just gotten burnt out over him over the years. Well, I mean, if you like him, that's great. I guess some of it is just not for me, so
Okay. And here's the thing is that this movie had the same problem that his other Brad Pitt movie had, Inglourious Bastards. Just like Inglourious Bastards, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was 2 completely separate movies crammed together to make one incoherent movie. So it's like there was the Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt stuff, and that was an interesting movie. And then there was the Charlie Manson's group thing, where actually Charlie Manson was in the trailer more than he was in the movie. And they had all of that going on, which was a less interesting movie. And then they force merged it together at the end. So I was actually really interested in the movie of Brad Pitt and Leo. And if it was just that movie, I would have loved this because both of them were great. It was about this aging actor, Leo DiCaprio, plays this aging actor who's past his prime and everything. And it was a fantastic story. And him and Brad Pitt were both great. Yeah, I said he was better in Ad Astra, but he was good in this. Leonardo DiCaprio was really good in this movie. But all of the Charlie Manson stuff and the Sharon Tate murders and all that stuff felt really unnecessary. And it kind of was crammed together and just none of it made sense together. So it actually hurt the movie.
yeah, I've heard it's mostly kind of like a more relaxed hangout movie, almost like the Big Lebowski sort of thing, where you're just chilling half the time.
It is. And especially with the Leo and Brad Pitt stuff, I'm going, if I could just have this chill movie with them and their dialogue, this would have been fantastic. So, but anyway, it was okay. I'll give it that. It was okay. I had a rewatch of Attack the Block, the origins of Finn, which is interesting because I don't know if you know about. Have you seen Attack the Block?
I've never seen it, no.
Okay, you really need to see. I told you I saw a lot of movies that like I'm going to highly recommend, and this was a rewatch for me, so I already knew I loved this movie. First of all, the score by Stephen Price, fantastic. He's one of my favorite composers. He did this. He did Fury. He did Gravity. So I mean, and he did what little score there was in Suicide Squad when they weren't doing music videos. So Stephen Price is really great, and the score for this movie is top notch. And the director, and I'm blanking on his name now, so forgive me for that, but
I think it's Joe Cornish.
that might be it actually. So, you might think, what does Joe Cornish know about like black kids in a poor neighborhood in Britain or whatever? Well, he went and met all of these people, and he hired kids from poor neighborhoods to be in the movie. So he didn't go to Hollywood actors. So Finn,
John
John
Boyega.
Boyega, who we did a podcast on Imperial Dreams, he saw an ad for this movie and went and just on a whim went to audition for it and got the role of Moses in this movie, which is the lead role, and he was fantastic in it. And that's how we got Finn in Star Wars, because Joe Cornish went and made this small Attack the Block movie
Nice.
about giant bear alien type things that were really freaky looking, even though it was all practical. It was, I think I watched this on a streaming service as well. Look it up and see which streaming services it is on, and go watch this film. It's so good. And it's also got it's got Finn, and it's also got one of the Doctor Who's, Jodie Whittaker.
Nice.
So I watched I watched an interesting 1979 movie called Prophecy, and it's about like paper mills and polluting water, and Armand Asante as an Indian chief, and
Oh no.
and
Oh no.
and a giant 9 or 10 foot mutant bear.
Oh boy. Is it the
And
bear from Grizzly?
no, that'd be great.
Which was the bear from Grizzly? I like Grizzly.
He needed more work, right? Did he go on to Day of the Animals too with Leslie Nielsen?
I assume so.
And yes, I am gonna try and find every opportunity I can to mention Day of the Animals with Leslie
That's
Nielsen.
so weird.
No, if everything I just said to you makes you go, gosh, I want to see this because that sounds bizarre and fun, then watch this movie. If that does not seem like it's up your alley, then please don't watch it, because it is bizarre and batshit crazy, and I loved every minute of it.
That's great.
I watched a movie by someone that we also did a podcast on. We did her first movie, Baji on the Beach. On
Oh
the
yeah,
beach.
what you watch from her next?
I watched. Well, she did Baji on the Beach. Then she did Bend It Like Beckham, and
Which
then
I
I
saw
watched.
as a kid. I liked.
And then I watched Blinded by the Light. So she loves her B movies.
Nice.
And you know what? They're not B movies. They are A movies. I really dig that.
Start with the letter B.
Gurinder, right? That's her name?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can hear me butcher the name also on our Baji on the Beach podcast. But Blinded by the Light is inspired by a true story about a guy. She does a lot of movies about, like, it's about Indian culture and kind of breaking away from, like, how strict it is and all that stuff. So I wonder if that might be a personal thing, like with her. Like, I wonder if she did kind of the same thing to get into movies. So, because this is another one where it's this guy would rather be a writer, but he's got all these strict, his father is like, no, you need to find work and support your family. And so, like, the father takes all the money from him and his sister and his mom to go towards the bills and stuff. And he finds that he's a good writer, but then he finds inspiration by listening to Bruce Springsteen music. And it's just he breaks out into song every once in a while. It's a wonderful little movie. I think.
So does it go into full like musical sequences, or just more like just him singing and dancing around?
Kind of borderline musical on one or two of them, but like it's only a couple of times, but it fits really well into the movie, and it's done really well to not make it feel like a musical. So,
Okay.
But I think she keeps getting better and better with each movie, because I liked Bend It Like Beckham also. Baji on the Beach was a good first movie. Bend It Like Beckham is good. And I know she's done other stuff in between too, but Blinded by the Light might be my favorite so far by her. So,
Nice. I'll have to check it out.
yeah. I watched Men in Black International.
How is
and
that?
for all the hate that movie got, I thought Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth were great together, and they were fun to watch. it's a really cliche story of there's a mole in the office. So I think that might be the problem with most people is it's just another really tired story. But I thought that the different aliens they had in there and the chemistry between Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, which carried over from Thor Ragnarok, was really great. And I would like to see another movie with these two as agents. So
Yeah, it didn't do very well at the box office, so the franchise might be dead for a while, but I
yeah.
like Men in Black. I just kind of wish they did more with it. It just kind of seemed like they were doing the same thing every time.
And I think that might be the problem because like I said, the story is leaves a lot to be desired. But then we also got um, Rebecca Ferguson as an alien. So I mean, I'll take any Rebecca Ferguson I can get. I had a lot of fun watching it. So I watched another true story, Brian Banks. I don't know if you're familiar with his story.
This is about a guy who banks, who goes to a bank. He's a banker.
Yes, he's totally a banker. No, this is Aldous Hodge from Leverage. That's what I know him from, which is a fun show with Timothy Hutton. Um, he plays Brian Banks, who was like this sophomore in high school, and he's already being looked at by like colleges and stuff. And he had like this bright future ahead of him. And through a lie from a girl that he made out with in a hallway, and then really bad lawyers, he ended up going to prison for a couple of years. And then he had like 5 years of probation after that. And
Oh wow.
his career was just gone. And so this movie is about like afterwards. I kind of remember this story happening. It was in the mid 2010s, and I kind of vaguely remember this. And he really fought to clear his name, and he finally got the charges reversed so that it's not on his record anymore. Because if he couldn't get the thing reversed by the time his probation was up, then he was going to be classified as a sex offender for the rest of his life.
Oh
And so
boy.
and he was innocent. So it was a really good story, and I mean kind of a heartbreaking story because you hate seeing this kind of thing. But the movie was well done, and it had I like Aldous Hodge, and Greg Kinnear played the lawyer, and I don't think we see enough of Greg Kinnear because I like him too. It was a good movie. Now,
Yeah, Greg Kinnear is always kind of fun when he shows up. He just, sometimes he's here, sometimes he's never as a lead. Always looks to do more supporting stuff.
I like him in the support. I think he's a better supporting than he is a leading actor, but like I really dig when he shows up in a supporting role. So another rewatch I had was Dodgeball,
Oh boy.
a true underdog story. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
See, that's the only thing I know about that movie is that stupid line because apparently, like, I was in when it first came out, I never saw it. I just saw like previews for it and stuff, and that line just stuck with me. So my friends and I would just joke around that line just for weeks. I don't know why.
If you can dodge a car, you can dodge a ball. Rip Torn in that role. This movie, you haven't seen it. Okay, you've got to write these down right now because I'm giving you a lot of gold here. Because Dodgeball, I'm actually usually not a big Ben Stiller fan. He kind of goes a little overboard, and his character is overboard in this, but he's in it just little enough that it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, because he
And
plays the bad guy, right?
yes, he plays the owner of the competing like big gym. So and the other gym is owned by Vince Vaughn, and you get like I think it's Justin Long and Alan Tudyk plays Pirate Steve, and then, and then oh gosh, I can't think of who all else was in it. The one girl that was married to Ben Stiller in real life, and she played on Hey Dude. I can't remember her name, but anyway, this movie cracks me up. And if you watch it, you'll be walking away not saying if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. You'll be saying fucking Chuck Norris. There's just little cameos in there that are just fantastic. So,
That's fun.
yeah, it really is one of the funniest movies of the last 20 years.
Yeah, this movie and then Anchorman just kind of like somehow like merged as like kind of the same thing in my head. Maybe because they were out around the same time.
See, and I didn't really like Anchorman the first time I saw it, and I never watched it again.
Huh.
So, but Dodgeball, that's a different story. That was hilarious the first time I watched it and every other time I've seen it. I watched Bohemian Rhapsody again.
Oh yeah.
I like that movie. I know that he's lip syncing in it, and maybe it's not the best editing, even though it won best editing. And to be honest, I think there's a lot of good editing actually in there with like the final concert, and some of the shots in there are kind of cool, and the transitions. It's that one scene that everyone focuses on, and I've actually heard the director talk about that scene and say there was like something reshot with the story, and then that scene didn't make sense anymore, so he had to cut it with what he had. So he's like, that's the best I could do to make it make sense with the rest of the story. So it wasn't my fault. So he actually even admits that that was poorly edited together in that scene. And like, that's the only scene anybody mentions when they say it was poorly edited. So
I don't know. It's that scene just kind of reminds me of the that one scene where like Liam Neeson jumps his fence in Taken 3.
yeah, and we've mentioned that before too. And you know what? The first time I watched Bohemian Rhapsody, it didn't even phase me. And now then after, because I watched it before all that stuff came about, and then after I heard everybody talking about that scene, I watched it this time, and when I'm watching, I'm going, "Holy crap! You do get whiplash in this scene." It's just like zip, 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 cut, 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 cut. It's just holy crap! There's like 83 cuts for a 2-minute conversation. So I will give that scene is a little like a little overcut, but I don't think the rest of the movie is that bad edit wise, and I kind of dig the movie. And I thought that Rami Malek did a good job. I watched Doctor Sleep finally, and
I haven't seen it.
I really dug it. And again, I'll take any Rebecca Ferguson. Rebecca Ferguson can suck my soul out anytime she wants. That's all I'll say about that. It was a really good movie. A little over 2 hours, and it just kind of flew by. So
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that one too.
they got the kid, and then the woman who plays Olive Oil's role,
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall's role. They got them looking just like. At first, I was like, did they use like old footage from this? I was like, oh no, that's two different people. That's just someone they got to really look like Shelley Duvall. I was like, she's got a unique look too, so that's kind of hard to do. But I
Nice.
like how they merged the old Shining story from the original movie, and I actually haven't read Shining or Doctor Sleep, and I'm a big Stephen King fan, but I haven't read those books.
I've read The Shining. It's obviously really good. There's definitely differences. I mean, because the movie's more about one man slowly turning into a monster.
Yeah,
The book is definitely more about a man being turned into a monster by a crazy hotel. It's much more explicit about all the weird stuff that's happened in the hotel in the past. And then like instead of an axe, he uses like a mallet from like a croquet set or something. Just weird stuff like that.
yeah, because in the movie it is about the hotel kind of turning, like you said, turning him into a monster. Where the book, I think it's a book basically dealing with alcoholism.
Yeah, which happens a lot in Stephen King's book because he was an alcoholic and a drug addict for a long time.
Yeah, so there's stories there, I guess. Anyway, I recommend Doctor Sleep. Ewan McGregor was great in it, and it was an interesting story and kind of expanding on the mythology of people with the shinning. Don't you mean the shining? What do you want to get sued, boy? uh, I rewatched another movie, Hunter Killer. It's a Gerard Butler submarine movie with Common and Gary Oldman as well. So, I mean, that's all you need to know. If that sounds like it's up your alley, then it is. Cool. I dig it. It's not a good movie, but I dig it.
But you liked it anyway. That's fine.
Yeah. I watched Rocketman and loved it. This Taron Egerton. I will agree with the people who go, Rami Malek got a best actor for Bohemian Rhapsody, but Taron Egerton did not get any sort of nod for Rocketman is a Crime. And I agree, because he was so, so good. And this movie was put together so well and so much fun. And it was just this really different take on a biography, where it was kind of like a fantasy biography, and it went into musical numbers and it didn't feel out of place. And this was full on musical numbers. So,
Okay, that's cool. Do like full on musical numbers, and I like Elton John music, so I might have to check that one out for sure.
and Taron Egerton doing all the songs, does he sound different than Elton John? Yes, but he sang them in his own way, and it just really fit with the movie because some of the musical numbers would be him starting to sing, and then someone else would sing some other lyrics of the song because it's one of those where they built Elton John's life story into the lyrics of his own songs, which
Okay.
ironically were not actually mostly written by him. They were written by his partner. So it's like it's not even him writing his own personal stuff all those years. It was someone else writing it, but like it fit his life so well. So it was a really, really excellent film, and I highly recommend it. Especially if you're a fan of Elton John music, just you will love this movie.
I just hope they sing the William Shatner version of Rocket Man.
I'm a rocket man, and I think it's going to be a long, long time.
Oh, that's something else. Yeah, I've seen on YouTube the pinball wizard scene from it, and that looked really cool, with just him changing costumes and all this other crazy stuff. And
Yeah, there is so much fun stuff in this movie, and like I said, Taron Egerton just really sells it, and he's so fantastic. I have loved Taron Egerton as an actor since the first time I saw him. It was either I don't remember if I think it was what the Kingsman. What
yeah,
might have
I've
been the first thing I saw him, and then I realized what a great actor he was when I saw Eddie the Eagle, and then I'll forgive him for doing Kingsman Golden Circle. It's fine.
sometimes you got to take a paycheck.
Yeah, because that's not a great movie. but no, I really like him as an actor, and he really shined in this movie. So, and I'm a huge fan of Elton John music, so it was a win-win. I watched a movie called Last Christmas with Henry Golding, who I really like. I want this guy to get more work too. I really like Henry Golding, and it also
Was he
had
also in The Simple Favor?
yes, he was. And here's the thing: when I watched Last Christmas, I didn't know until the credits started rolling at the beginning that it was a Paul Feig movie. I didn't know he directed this. So it was a cute little romantic Christmas comedy centered around George Michael music. and it has what's her face from Game of Thrones,
Clark.
Amelia Clark. Yes. What's her name from Terminator? Old Man Genesis.
Nice.
It was a cute movie. I liked it. So if romantic comedies are your thing, then I would actually really recommend this. Paul Feig is like kind of surprising me with his movies. He did all of these comedies that were a lot similar, like Bridesmaids, Spy, all of those comedies. And then he came with out of nowhere with Simple Favor, which was fantastic. And then he does this cute little romantic comedy called Last Christmas. I'm going, Paul Feig is like the real deal here. He's got the ability to do any kind of movie, I think.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me in the same way that Adam McKay does, because he worked a lot with Will Ferrell, did stuff like Anchorman, Talladega Nights, a lot of those stuff, and then all of a sudden he does something like The Big Short, which I loved.
Yeah, and actually that might be one of my favorite movies from him because Talladega Nights, I watched that once and oh my god, never again. That was awful. uh, I had
thought it
another.
was
I have another couple rewatches, and one I'll just mention is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I don't have to say anymore. You've either seen it or you need to see it.
I
John
actually see that one. It's really good.
John Candy and Steve Martin road tripping, trying to get home for Thanksgiving. Really great. Enough said about that one. Go watch it. I rewatched Fury, and if I were to make a best of the decade list for 2010 to 2019, I think Fury would be on it for my top 10. So
And that's the tank movie, right?
it is the World War II tank movie with Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf.
Isn't Tom Hardy in that too?
Not Tom Hardy, John Bernthal, and Logan Lerman. And how come I always draw a blank on his name? He's the fast talking sidekick on Ant-Man.
Michael Pena?
Michael Pena. I love Michael Pena, and I always blank on his name for some reason. And every one of them acting top notch, the score top notch, the cinematography, the movie, the story, everything is fantastic. And I've actually even heard stories of people who fought in tanks in World War II. Like, they showed it to some people who have fought in tanks, and they're like, "This is the most realistic tank movie I've ever seen." So
So it's more realistic than Tank Girl?
yes, no, that's uber realistic. No, like I said, for that decade, that would definitely be in my top 10. So another huge recommendation. And then that's going to be followed up by another big recommendation, the Peanut Butter Falcon.
I remember when that one was in theaters. I just never got around to see it. It looked really, really good.
It's a really touching story. And again, Shia LaBeouf. So there was two in a row from Shia LaBeouf. And as crazy as he is in real life, I think he is a really good actor.
I
And
hope he's moving past his crazy phase and kind of gets more of a second act.
yeah, and I hope that between this and Honey Boy last year, that I hope that he starts getting into some more roles like this. So it was just a touching story of like these two guys forming a bond on this like almost like Tom Sawyer Huck Finn travels to try and find this old wrestling coach, and this boy with Down syndrome wants to be a wrestler and go get taught lessons from this VHS tape that he that he had been watching over and over and over, but it was an old VHS tape. And I don't want to say any more about it because it's just a really fun kind of buddy road trip. Like I said, Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer kind of thing. And it's got like a great supporting cast. Dakota Johnson is really good in it. And then there's John Hawkes shows up in it. And even Thomas Hayden Church and Bruce Dern. So it's a fantastic. It really was a good movie. So
Yeah, I like a good road movie.
I also watched a movie from 1940 called The Thief of Baghdad, just because. it is one of those old 1940s, like there's some stop motion, some really bad effects, and it's about a king who gets booted out by a Jafar, the vizier, and he falls in love with the princess, but then Jafar makes him blind, and then they find a genie, and so there's all sorts of different adventures in there.
Does Jafar have a parrot named Iago, voiced by Gilbert Gottfried?
No, but the whole time I was really wishing he had. It's not the greatest movie of those kind. It does have a certain charm to it, like a lot of those movies do, though. So if you like those old adventure movies from like the 40s and 50s, like those kind of Baghdad, like sandal movies, then it's a fun little watch. And I think it was pretty short. So another rewatch was It Happened One Night. Have you seen that one?
Great one, yep. Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert.
Yes, and that one doesn't get old. Their chemistry is so great in that, and Clark Gable is so fun in it, and you got the walls of Jericho
Love
coming down at the
this,
end.
really love this screwball back and forth. I
Yeah,
really like screwball comedies. I just kind of wish that there were more, or that they made them more like they did. They made more comedies now like they did then.
yeah. I kind of wish that you could do that now too. But the thing is acting is different now. It's more. I want to say almost more realistic. Like nowadays, with the like dialogue is directors try and make things a little more grounded. Whereas back in the 30s and 40s, it was really overacted, and it might just be because they were coming out of no sound pictures and coming into sound, and like they were used to really enunciating everything and big actions and everything with silent pictures, and that kind of carried over, I think, for the next decade or so.
Yeah, and also it's a lot closer to like theater acting.
Yeah. So if you really like your screwball comedies, It Happened One Night is a Frank Capra film. So right there, it's going to be a quality picture. So it's a really good screwball romantic comedy. So I finished watching the Lethal Weapon series. I watched Lethal Weapon 4 with Jet Li, and, and there's no diplomatic immunity in this one.
Well, then what's the point?
I don't know. It's about Chinese immigrating Chinese people. I dig all of the Lethal Weapon movies. They're not all great, but I dig them all. The first one is like a perfect movie, and then they they never stopped getting good though. And Richard Donner stuck around to direct all four of them, and so they got a really kind of they all have the same feel to them because same director, same cast. They just kept adding. It's like they added another character in every movie, or maybe even two characters. Because this one you get Jet Li and Chris Rock. So because if you have Joe Pesci from 2 and 3, and then in 3 you add Rene Russo, and then in 4 you have to have someone play off of Joe Pesci, so they get Chris Rock and complaining about cell phones instead of Joe Pesci complaining about fast food joints.
So does this come out after Rush Hour? Because Rush Hour, has obviously Chris Tucker and then Jackie Chan. So
Uh, I don't know because I don't remember when that came out. Lethal Weapon 4 was 1998,
let me
so
look that up.
which seems really late because I didn't realize Lethal Weapon 4 came out when I was in college because I thought all of them had come out when I was by the time I was in high school. So, and this is kind of an introduction of Jet Li into America's cinema because I think this was one of his big introductions.
So yeah, it's Rush Hour is came out the same year, in 1998. So,
Okay.
huh?
So another buddy cop movie, and that one's kind of Jackie Chan getting into Hollywood stuff. I know Rumble in the Bronx had come out before that, and
Yeah.
they had transferred other movies like what was it? Super Cop was like the third police story, and they brought that over for American audiences, and then he did Rumble in the Bronx was kind of his big American breakout, and then he went on to do the Rush Hour movies, and now he's kind of disappeared out of Hollywood cinema because he hated the Hollywood bullshit, I guess, and went back to China.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so but you don't really see Jet Li anymore too. I wonder if he kind of did the same thing because I know that Jackie Chan is actually still a big deal over in China.
Yeah.
So, but you don't really see him in anything here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Jackie Chan. I haven't seen any Jet Li movies. I've heard he's good. And he does more, because I know Jackie Chan has always had kind of one tone. He's always been more action comedy tone.
Yeah.
Now, does Jet Li general do more serious stuff, or?
Jet Li, yeah, I think does a little more serious. Like Jackie Chan gets silly with his kung fu and stuff, and all of his fighting. He likes to incorporate like the props and everything around him, whereas Jet Li is just really quick and fun to watch. So with his fighting, so it's a little different because he's more straight faced, kind of badass, whereas Jackie Chan likes to have more fun with stuff. Obviously, and be more challenging with like the kind of stunts that he pulls because I think he's broken like every bone in his body, probably multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, watch like the outtakes on old Jackie Chan films where like they'll show him getting injured and stuff. You're just like, holy crap. And then you learn like some of the stuff where it's like, oh, he did this stunt and they had to stop filming for 5 days.
Yeah, he's definitely something else. I'd love to see Jackie Chan and Tony Jaa team up with Iko Uwais. So I think that's the best way to say it. He
From
did
the
the raid.
raid.
Yeah,
Yeah. That would be great to get all of them together.
because they're all very, very good professionals, just very good. Because especially with a martial arts film, it's a very physical acting performance, a little closer to dance than it is like a real fight. So
Yeah, yeah.
they're all very talented in that department. I'd love to see him kind of make this amazing martial arts film and just kind of blow the whole thing out of the water. We
Yeah.
need to watch the Raid movies again. They're great.
That they are some of that in the first Raid movie is kind of hard to watch. It's fantastic, but like that guy in the door jam, whew, that's rough. So those are I know that was a long list and we've already gone 57 minutes or so, or maybe less because we had a little recorded before this, but uh, I had a lot that I watched and you know what? There was a lot there to recommend. So if you're stuck at, we'll try and get this episode out, and if you're stuck quarantined at home and can't go out because of this whole pandemic going on, then hopefully I've given you a lot of good movies to try and check out.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll actually have stuff that I can talk about.
And if you've got a couple, like we can go and what did you watch these last couple
Um,
weeks?
I'll talk about stuff the most recently thing that I watched. A few weeks back I watched Jason and the Argonauts, which is just classic Ray Harryhausen awesomeness.
I see that's a much better one than The Thief of Baghdad that I watched.
Oh
I
yeah.
because Ray Harryhausen is like the king of those kind of movies. So
Yeah, and he
eh,
talked about just I saw like a brief interview where we talked about just how long it took for the skeleton sequence because like it was like 35 different moves per frame of film, so it's just because he had like three guys and seven skeletons or something like that. It's just insane.
well, yeah, and I know that we talked about like the process in our Seventh Voyage of Sinbad podcast, which yeah, I'm plugging all of our old podcasts because there's a lot of crossover here. But the process took so long to do one scene that it boggles my mind how many movies Harryhausen was able to do effects for.
That is pure dedication.
Yeah, and Jason the Argonauts, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Clash of the Titans. Those are all must watch if you have any sort of interest at all in stop motion. Like you really need to study Ray Harryhausen because he was the master of that.
Oh yeah. And let's see, another one I watched was I like to do more interesting, kind of goofier light stuff sometimes. So this one was a little lighter for it, but still really good. I just watched this today. It was Lilies of the Field, starring Sidney Poitier from 1963.
Okay, I have not seen that one.
That one's fun because it's a pretty small movie where he's just like a guy who happens to be passing through, and he comes across these nuns in the middle of the desert, and he just needs those water for his car's radiator. And then they invite him in. Then he kind of ends up helping them out. Helps they're German nuns, so he helps them learn English, and then ends up kind of helping them build a chapel. So it's just a really kind of heartwarming film about people coming together for a good cause, and just all some of the other characters. And of course, it's Sidney Poitier plays off really well, and one of his kind of because he's always good in everything.
Well, yeah, of course. He's Sidney
This was
Poitier.
definitely more one of his lighthearted roles as opposed to something like In the Heat of the Night, which was also good.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I'll have to check that one out. That's one that I've just never gotten around to. So
See, another one I liked I just watched last night was I guess we'll end on this one is The Invisible Man, the 2020 Invisible Man.
what did you think of this? I've heard a lot of good things about it.
I absolutely loved it because I'm a big fan of The Invisible Man. I've seen the 1933 version, I've read the book. So I just love the whole concept, and I think it's always great whenever he shows up in anything.
Like the Chevy Chase movie.
I didn't see that one.
He's in some sort of Invisible Man movie. I can't remember what it was. I think I saw it when it came out, but I think it was late '80s, early
And then
'90s.
even like Abbott and Costello meet the Invisible Man. That's a fun one too.
That's totally fun. Yes, I agree with that. Um, I have not seen this new Invisible Man, but like I really dug the concept of they really took it and turned it in a different direction with this whole like tormenting his girlfriend or whatever, his wife or I thought it looked like it was taking a little different direction. Did it kind of do that?
It definitely does. It takes it in definitely a very different direction because with the original man, Invincible Man, it's like brilliant scientist who slowly goes crazy and then tries to kill a bunch of people because he's invisible. But then also had a bit of a streak of comedy to it because like in the book they talk about how it'd be kind of sucked to be invisible because he's only fully invisible when he's naked and stuff like that. So
Oh,
there's like a naked guy running around. So then, but also in addition to that, like whenever he eats, like you could see the food slowly digesting in his stomach. So like
I'm gonna have to read the book sometime.
it's
It's an
really good,
interesting character.
and it's a short book too. So a lot of it's like how here's this concept, and here's how it would suck to be invisible all the time.
Because was Invisible Man H.G. Wells?
It was H.G. Wells, yes.
Okay, okay. And I might actually have a collection of H.G. Wells, so I might actually own the book. I just haven't read it
Yeah.
yet.
1933 film was also classic with Claude Rains, and those visual effects from 1933 still look really good.
And then the best Invisible Man is also in an Abbott Costello movie played by Vincent Price.
Yes, that's a
I'm the
great.
Invisible Man.
I
Uh,
really like, and then like Invisible Man shows up for like 3 minutes or something in like very briefly in I want to say like League of an Extraordinary Gentleman, which isn't a very good movie, but I really like it anyway.
yeah, one of those, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah, I really want to see this new movie, and Elizabeth Moss picks some bizarre roles, but
but she's
she,
really good.
but yeah, she is, and she picks some interesting movies, and even when she takes something that's well known like The Invisible Man, it's a different spin on it, and yeah, I thought the story looked really interesting from the trailer.
Yeah, so I highly recommend it. Apparently, this is kind of the Universal's attempt to restart the quote the MonsterVerse, throwing up
The dark universe, right?
the dark universe. Yeah,
So
apparently,
are we gonna get Tom Cruise yelling in a plane again?
no, I wish, but no. So this version it makes sense because all right, we'll spend less money on it. Just give it to Blumhouse.
Yeah, exactly. So can he just do the rest of them now? Because I would love to see a dark universe where you have all these individual movies and maybe like a little bit of crossover in them, but like mostly just make them individual movies. Bring back the Universal monsters. You know, back in the day in the 30s, there was Frankenstein, there was Dracula, there was the Invisible. They had all the individual movies, and then they kind of started cross pollinating them, into the sequels, which weren't always as good as the solo movies. So maybe learn from that and just do a bunch of solo movies first. So the Mummy was a big misfire, though.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed in that. I am one of the few that actually thought Dracula Untold, that was the name of the first one,
Oh
was.
yeah.
I'm one of the few that actually kind of thought it was a fun movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I realized the complaints about it, but I was like, there was some interesting stuff in there that was just poorly executed, I think.
hmm
So, but yeah, give Blumhouse the Dark Universe.
Well, obviously, these are much less expensive, and this one had some good effects too. And this was, apparently it's like, from what I was reading, it made over like $100 million off of a $7 million budget. So
Oh
it did
wow.
well. So Blumhouse can do it right. And from what I understand, the next one is going to be Dracula, directed by Karen Kusama, who's most famous for stuff like Destroyer and Jennifer's Body.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know Destroyer, but I've seen Jennifer's Body.
Jennifer's Body was one of those movies when it came out, like people were making fun of it. I never saw it, but then like years later, it seems like it's been reappraised as like a movie that's actually really good.
Yeah, exactly. So
Gonna have to check that one out.
yeah, this could be interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe under Blumhouse this will get done better.
I love to
So
see their version of like the Wolfman too.
yeah, that'd be cool. And played by Michael J. Fox again.
Yes, Teen Wolf is back.
Just middle-aged wolf is back.
Because I liked the Benicio del Toro Wolfman. If you ever saw that one.
No, I didn't see that one. That one also had Anthony Hopkins, right?
Yes, but what was fun about that one, they just went kind of crazy with like Rick Baker, crazy effects.
Nice. Yeah, I bring back the old classic, practical effects. I want that too. I mean, is there anything more terrifying than the transformation scene in American Werewolf in London?
Yeah, that one's just so visceral.
Yeah, and just you can feel the bones breaking and just it's so creepy and good. Like
Oh
that scene. So bring back the practical effects. They can be really effective, as opposed to some of the digital crap that you've got nowadays. So
yeah, this one was a nice mix because some of it is just like, someone reacting to like they're being punched. Then some of it, I'm sure it was done with just like they had like a stunt man in like a green suit and keyed him out or something. So then they still have something to react with, even though it looks like you're being pulled by nothing. So,
oh cool.
but yeah, great. Invisible Man, a lot of fun. Really dig the different angle of turning it into more of like a stalker film. It makes it even creepier
Nice.
as opposed to just like a guy going crazy and blowing up a train or something.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, that's what is kind of drawn me to wanting to see this movie.
Check
So
it out. I know it's on demand, but I know it's gonna be. I know it's dumb because it's like $20 to get it as opposed to like $5 for a normal movie when they come out. But pandemic. Otherwise, if I could, I would have saw it in theaters.
yeah, and ironically, what's ironic about it is it's cost $20 to see it at home, and our theaters here every Tuesday we have Marcus Theaters every Tuesday. It's $5 for any movie, so I would have actually seen it for $5 if it was still in the theater.
But yeah, I mean, if it's one of those things, I was able to watch it with other people, so that made it easier for me.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what route Hollywood starts taking with all of this because I don't want to see the theaters get destroyed because they're going to start going to this streaming first thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that theaters are going to go away anytime soon because if you think about it, how many times do people go to retro theaters to see movies that they already own on DVD and stuff because they want to see it up on the big screen again? There's
Yeah.
something there's
See, like,
something
I think independent theaters, which they have built it around a kind of a community aspect, they're probably going to be okay. As an example, like the Music Box Theater in Chicago,
yeah,
they're
or film
probably going to
scene
be
in Iowa City even are
yeah,
local to us.
because they're really good about that community aspect. I mean, but stuff with like a chain theater, I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Things are things are going to change after this whole not just in film but like just the
Life
way
in general.
life in general. I was talking, to my family and I'm pretty brutally honest with my daughters. They're 10 and 8, almost 11 and 8. And I told them I said you should be writing a journal because this is unprecedented. Like I'm 41 years old and I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. My parents are in their 60s. They've never seen anything like this in their lifetime. This is like a completely new thing that's happening right now. And so it's is it scary? Yes, but it's also something that we can learn from and we're going to see a shift in the way things are done after this, I
Yeah,
think.
it's a world changing event, that's for sure.
So, but anyway, to get you through it, there is about an hour's worth of movies that a lot of recommendations in there. So,
A lot of good stuff in there. And keep on keeping on and wash your hands and remember to take a shower and dress like a human being every once in a while.
yeah, I, I work from home now, so I sit in my pajamas all day. And ironically, I put my jeans on at the end of the day so I could go for a walk. So, but yeah, and I promise that our next episode will be a little shorter. Like when we do what you watching, it's just being stuck at home and having gone 4 weeks. I had a lot of movies to talk about.
Yeah,
So
you had a lot to do, so.
anyway, we'll hopefully get back to recording our regularly scheduled program, our regular our we don't know what to watch episode, as well as doing these and just separating it from the we don't know what to watch and having two separate episodes to listen to. So,
Yeah, and until then, make sure to follow us on social media. You can find me at Noah_Saturn, SATERN on Twitter.
and I am at awesomekm, and you can find us also at we don't know what to watch on Instagram. And I realize that I'm really bad at updating Instagram, so I'm going to try and get better about that. Also, with everything that's been going on, I haven't posted anything on Twitter for like a couple of weeks. So I need to get back onto the social platform here and start just posting every once in a while.
Yeah, it's tough, but at the same time, you don't want to spend too much time on social media because that'll just make your anxiety go crazy and make you paranoid. So,
Yeah, exactly.
just like maybe an hour a day, all your social media stuff done, and then just kind of stay off of it for the rest of a while too.
Yeah. So we'll try and post something so that we're active out there, but yeah, uh,
Not too active.
not too active. Anyway, uh, stay safe out there, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, until then, bye bye.